is up, guys? How are we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Jedi In Exile with us, the Jedi In Exile, and we have a very special guest with us today. We are joined by the one and only, the big skinny, Mr. Slimm.
What's going on?
Slimm, good to have you, my man.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks, good to be here.
Slimm joins us from the United States. Whereabouts, Slimm? Tell the guys where you're from.
We're in Payson, Arizona, man. The heart of Arizona, up in the mountains.
There we go. So Slimm, I've known Slimm for 3 years, 2-3 years now. It must be getting on for almost
Damn.
3.
Yep.
So Slimm and I kind of met each other when I was doing some streaming and stuff, and we bonded over our love of Star Wars. So we thought, what perfect person to have come sit, chat with us, and kind of just chew the fat about something that we all love. So
Nerd out a bit.
exactly. So welcome. Before we go any further, guys, remember, if you like what we are putting out, remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, all of that good stuff.
Bing, bing, bing.
Exactly, straight down there. But yeah, let's crack into it. So I guess from me, like, Slimm, what got you into Star Wars?
My dad. Yeah, my dad was huge. He was like around when Star Wars came out, so he was super into it. And then obviously growing up, he's like, I gotta show my kids the Star Wars movies. So we grew up with it and just always loved it.
So it's safe to say it was like original trilogy that got you
Yeah,
in hooked. Yeah.
Classics, man. The old ones. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I think my dad saw those in theaters when they came out, so and it was like a big deal. And he was super. He's like, I think he likes Star Trek more, so kind of fight about that sometimes. But yeah, he was into Star Wars too. So
First of all, my first question: have you got a favorite Star Wars film?
I think it's gotta be Return of the Jedi.
That's a good choice.
That is a good choice, to be fair.
Yeah,
That's a good choice.
If you
I wondered whether it would be one of like the originals or whether it would be one of the newer ones or prequels.
it's between that and A New Hope, but I think I gotta settle on Return of the Jedi.
Good choice. You avoided the dangerous on that.
Yeah, I know.
I get that started on Empire.
So obviously, based on age, we're all similar ages. So much like us, obviously, the first kind of Star Wars movies that would have been released theatrically in our lifetime were the prequels. So talk to me about the prequels. Kind of where do you stand? Because it splits a lot of people.
I'm probably gonna cause some controversy on this one, but I actually have a special spot in my heart for the first one, and episode 3 is also like that one. So it's probably Return of the Jedi, New Hope, and then episode 3.
There we go.
I was just gonna say the first one is like, I know a lot of people really hate that movie and they're like, it's trash and crappy Star Wars, but I don't know. I was young when that one came out still too, and so like I didn't really care about all of that.
You're in good company, Slimm. I gave it a 9, I think.
I think that there's a lot of people you talk to who are of like our age who would have seen the originals and then can just about remember episode 1 coming out. And I think episode 1 and 2 are just as good and just as bad as each other. However, I think episode 1 is seen as a better movie because I think people have that nostalgia. It was like, oh my God, Star Wars is back. Like, there was just so much hype around it. And I think actually that's why The Force Awakens is liked by a lot of people now, because it's like Star Wars is back. It's that kind of like, that means we've just got something. So I feel like that's why Phantom Menace has an okay rap, I think. Like, don't get me wrong, I like all the prequels, but I think Attack of the Clones is better than Phantom Menace. But not a lot of people...
Debatable.
Yeah, exactly. And Matt just doesn't like middle movies of trilogies. We've like established this.
They're the worst.
He just does not like.
They're the worst.
It's that weird in between phase where you're trying to get to the rest of the story.
Exactly.
So you're a gamer. Have you played many Star Wars games? Talk to me about what you feel about the games that have come out. Have you got a favorite one, etc.?
So as far as games go, I'm gonna turn my phone volume off here too, real quick. I'm sorry. As far as games go, like I grew up on the old school ones, so like Jedi Outcast, Jedi Knight, stuff like that on the GameCube, and I was really into computers from an early age too, so I had a lot of the old, like the really old computer ones. I can't even remember the names of some of them. I
Like
think
Shadows of the Empire and like
yeah,
X-Wings.
that and like even earlier, like the DOS
Yeah.
games, like some of those. Yeah, so I can't remember the names of them right now, but yeah, I was gonna say my favorite is probably Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast. I think
Yeah,
that's like the
yeah,
second one in that series or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, that is the
Yeah.
one that I always remember playing when I was younger because
Mm-hmm.
you didn't need a fantastic computer to play it. So
Mm-hmm. And
it's
the
yeah, no,
lightsaber battles were just epic too in that
yes,
one.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's the one, right, where you actually get the disintegrator rifle, right? And there's actually dismemberment
Mm-hmm.
as well, so you can chop people's
Yeah.
arms and stuff
yeah,
off.
yeah,
Not
Yeah, you
that
hit
not
them
that
to
I'm some
try
weird
and
not that I'm
their
some
arm
weird
goes flying.
sadist guy that's into that kind of thing, but just like
We want to see some legs getting chopped off.
Yeah, I love that
No,
one.
so Slim, what are your these are just kind of standard questions that I ask everybody who comes on the show. What are your
Okay.
thoughts since Disney have taken over Star Wars? What are your thoughts on the sequels? But well, that was a big sigh.
Yeah.
That was a
strap in, everybody.
Did he say strap in or strap on?
Oh, we're buckled up. So all right, so I'll just be completely blunt about it. I think anything Kathleen Kennedy has her hands on is pretty much hot dog water, and she can get fucked. So I do not like that woman and her influence on the show. I think she needs to go sit in a corner and just like leave it alone for a little bit. But she was involved in Obi-Wan. So I have to be careful saying that too, because I really liked Obi-Wan, but I also think that has to do with Ewan having a huge role in the production and everything.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of was like, maybe if she had something dumb to put in, he was kind of like, hey, listen, no. So
yeah.
it's touchy.
I think it's hard, isn't it? Because I
really,
don't like the sequels, but I love everything else
I
that
really
Disney have
didn't
done.
like
So I
him. There
really
was
like
like
it.
a couple of cool things in some of the sequel movies that I liked, but like for the most part, I was just like, what are we doing? I don't
Yeah, I think that
know.
was a lot of people's thoughts. Yeah.
So I think the sequels really split a lot of people's opinions, right? Like I think for a lot of people, they're just done exactly what the prequels did, which is people that liked what came before it have gone, this is different, this is new, we don't like it. So I think it split a lot of people's opinions, which is, people are completely entitled to their opinions. I think let's take that one step further. So obviously, Obi-Wan, you said you really enjoyed it. We both really enjoyed it. We covered that on the channel and kind of reviewed stuff as we went. What about things like The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and then there's obviously some of the animated stuff as well, like I don't know how much of it you've seen, but the last series of Clone Wars and like Rebels and Resistance, if you've seen that as well. So kind of talk to us about some of that stuff as well.
Filoni and Favreau are my heroes for the rest of my life. I love those guys so much. Mandalorian and Boba Fett, I believe Kennedy was like not involved in those ones, and also those were like two of my favorite Star Wars things to have come out in the last while. Like the animated stuff, I like most of it. Some of it I don't care for the animation style, but that's also my only gripe with it. So story wise, I really enjoyed it still. But I really like it a lot, and there's a lot of depth to like the backstory in those series that you don't get out of the movies. And if you have seen all of those and then go back into the movies, it gives it a whole another layer of just stuff that's going on,
So I guess that's something that I guess we can talk about a little bit, is that so obviously Obi-Wan was originally scheduled or slated for as a movie. I think there was talk of it being a trilogy at one point, but ultimately it got quite far through the production stages as chat of it being a movie rather than a TV series, and then a lot of people put it down to Solo not doing so well. That
Well, Disney were going with the models of doing these films of like a Star Wars story,
yeah,
so dipping kind of
Rogue
in and
One
out
and
at different
Solo
points.
and stuff.
Yeah, and that's what they
Okay.
started with. And then after Solo flopped at the box office, they were then
Kinda
like,
like-
right, okay, well, let's go a different route. Let's do TV series, especially with the success of Netflix, Amazon Prime. You know, that's when that started skyrocketing from like 2015.
Yeah.
So I guess
I did not know it was slated to be a movie. I didn't know that.
So I guess my question is, knowing how the setup is for the kind of the difference between the movies and the TV shows and stuff, I guess, would you have rather seen it as a one-off as a movie, or are you glad that it was a series? You know, what do you want to see more of from the franchise? Do you want to see big blockbuster movies or more kind of short form content?
So I think it would be interesting to see another trilogy, but if we were gonna have that, I'd want it to be in the same main storyline and kind of maybe try to rectify some of the crap that we've seen. But as far as Obi-Wan, I liked it the way it was. The suspense between episodes was just nuts, and then each episode seemed to just get better too. And I also remember my dad telling me something about when the original trilogy came out in his theaters, at least they did like they would show like 30-40 minutes of it, and you pay like a nickel to get in or something, and then you go and you watch that 30-40 minutes, and they would show that on like Monday night, and then Tuesday night they'd show the next 30-40 minutes, and the Wednesday night they'd go until you're all the way through the whole trilogy. And they did that like in episodes, and I always kind of thought that would be cool to see the movies like that. So I don't know, it worked out for me. I thought it was really good the way it was.
So I think personally for me, I kind of like the direction that they're going with the TV stuff. I feel like there's nowhere near as much pressure. Put Kenobi to one side just based on the fact that there was pressure on that because of who it was about, and with Ewan coming back and all of that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I feel like there's not as much pressure, and it allows people to kind of let's be honest, let's look at the Clone Wars, right? So the Clone Wars TV series was hated when it first came out. It wasn't received particularly well for the first couple seasons. Obviously Disney bought out Lucasfilm and all of the Star Wars franchise and canned it, and then it's come back. It came back due to like fan demand, but you've got to look at that and go, if they were making a movie, the budget would have run out very, very quickly. We probably only would have got, if at most, a trilogy, so maybe 6 hours worth of content, and we've actually got
You're so limited in character development in a film that you have to progress things so much. I think a TV series you can delve in a bit more, but at the same time, I also feel like even 6 episodes of Kenobi, if they're on average about 40-45 minutes each, you still don't get loads of time. You know, you've still only got about 4.5 hours, 5 hours.
But that's still probably 2.5 hours more than you would have got in a movie. Like, let's look at it. No one's going to go to watch a movie that's longer than 3 hours, right?
Yeah, but I look at TV series, and I think Netflix, obviously, there's so many series that I think the minimum you have to have a really good series where you have a proper beginning and a middle and an end where the last 2 episodes are mind-blowing is a 10-episode series. For me, you have to have 10 episodes. Now, The Mandalorian did okay because they had some quite long episodes in there. So The Mandalorian had 8 episodes, and you really did feel like you were on a journey with the characters, with obviously him and Grogu and all the other characters in there. But I mean, I love the model of TV series. I think Disney should just stick with that, and it looks like they will be. They'll be throwing in, I think, the odd movie, but it's mainly going to be TV series. And I do think that it gives them more license to do things. They can explore more. And I just think the way they film it as well is set up for a TV series with that big, like, circle studio, which is like got 4K. It's like a big 4K screen that's just a circle, so they can just project anything they want onto there.
Yeah, so
all the backgrounds, they don't have to go onto they don't have to go to like to a location. So you think all the Tatooine stuff before, when they filmed A New Hope, all the sets melted because they were filming it in Tunisia. So it's
Too
like
hot.
it's just so hot. Whereas when you do it, you can create the backdrop of a desert on a 4K, and it's inside. It's in California.
So this is the technology that that they basically came up with, right? That
ILM.
that was used for The Mandalorian, was used for Book of Boba Fett, and was used for Kenobi. And I'll be honest, I don't think that you can tell half the time. Like, that's how good it is. Like, I don't think there are times that you
I
look
had
and
no
you go,
idea.
well, there we go.
This is news to me.
So
That's freaking cool too.
I think a TV series becomes much more accessible, right? Like, it becomes much more accessible.
You don't have to wait a year for the next episode, do you? That's the thing with a movie. If they do a trilogy, they're going to do it every December. They're going to release the film, and then you have to wait another year for the next one. Whereas series is like, yes, you might have to wait a week, but you know it's like a 10-week block or 6-week block, 8-week block, whatever it is. And once a week, you get an episode.
I think just the business model of it works better too, honestly. Like, if you're going to do a movie, either you got to have a bunch of cash and like whoever friends you're taking with, and you got to have money for popcorn, and you're going to buy tickets, and then you're going to go sit, and it's a whole long thing. You got to take an afternoon or an evening to do it. And, you know, versus a TV show.
TV series is just
I can watch that when I get off of work on my couch, and I'm paying $5 a month for a service where I get all kinds of other shows too. So,
100%.
Oh, I agree.
So, I guess while we're on the topic of shows, one of the questions that I want to ask is thoughts, predictions, or feelings towards the two hot topics at the moment. I guess I'm going to call them 3 if you include season 2 of the Bad Batch. But obviously we've got season 2 of Bad Batch coming, we've got Andor coming, and we've got the Ahsoka series coming. Anything in particular that you're looking forward to, that you hope they cover, or anything like that?
As far as Ahsoka goes, that's probably the one I'm the most excited for right now. And I think they have so much room to do so much that it's hard to say what I want to see. But I really want to see her journey from like, I'm training with Anakin and I'm part of the Jedi Order, and okay, my master's a bad guy now. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to be a Jedi anymore. To, okay, now I'm a Jedi again. How the crap does that happen? You know? And there's so much time span in there too. And then we see her in Mando, and like, that was freaking amazing. That was so cool. And then the reference to like when she's talking to Luke and all that, and she, you know, she's like, I knew your dad or whatever. That was like, that one made me cry. I legitimately cried in that scene. And I just, there's a lot of room for that one. I'm very excited for Ahsoka. The other two, Andor, I don't know much about. So I can't really give you an answer on that one. And then Bad Batch, that's going to be very good.
No, I'm super excited for Ahsoka as well. That's probably the one that I think most people are excited for, because we don't know the actual story. Like, there's so much that they can explore. There's such a huge gap. Whereas with Kenobi, we kind of knew that it was going to be in that gap between 3 and 4. But yeah, with Ahsoka, like, does it pick up when she's like 16 and has left the Order? Does it, like, because we know it's Rosario Dawson, do they then bring a younger actress in who's going to play a younger Ahsoka? There's so many variables, because we've seen Ahsoka in Rebels, so we've kind of like, in a timeline, we've had like a kind of bits filled in, but there's still so much of a gap that I don't quite know whether they'll do it where they bring like, they could bring Luke into it, like they brought Luke into Mando. Like, I think that kind of overtook second season of Mando, people were more interested in when was Luke. Sorry, in the third season, were more interested in like when Luke was going to appear. Sorry, no, Book of
Yeah.
Boba Fett. I'm getting confused. At the end of Mando, obviously Luke turns up, and then it's Book of Boba Fett, where it just got taken over
To be
by
fair,
Okay,
might
yeah.
as well
Luke
have,
and
might as
I
well
Mando.
have
get
been
those
Mando
mixed up
season
too.
3, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Like, but people would, and I think if you did that in the Ahsoka series, it needs to just be about Ahsoka and her journey.
So
Um,
we know that some of the Rebels characters are confirmed for the Ahsoka series. I'm much like you.
Sweet.
Yeah, so we know that Hera's in it. We know that Sabine's in it. We know that Chopper's in it. So there's going to be kind of some crossover there. What I guess I'm excited to see what they do. And don't get me wrong, whatever they do, we know it's going to be incredible, and we're going to love it because we love that sort of thing. But I think I'm like you. I really hope that it's not kind of massively that it detracts from it. I'm excited to see them in live action. I'm excited to see what they do with that stuff. But really hope it doesn't detract from the storyline in that we're constantly watching it going, when are these guys turning up? Or if they turn up early, when are they coming back? When are we going to see them again? What's going on? Or don't worry about it because like Hera and the Ghost crew are going to come in and save the day. So, I don't want to see that. As much as I do want them to be in it. I don't want it to become Rebels IRL. I want it to be the Ahsoka series, and then just ask for another series of Rebels. Would be great.
Fair enough. I want to say too, I want to add to that real quick. When they did the whole like Luke and Grogu training thing and kind of stepped away from the rest of the storyline there, a lot of people were mad about it, and a lot of people were like, oh, it's Mando season 3, whatever. But also, I think that really helped with the storyline a lot because it is separate. So we got to pause on the regular storyline, but now we're getting an entire different chunk of story in one or two episodes, whatever it was, and then back to the main storyline. But when you go back to the main storyline, now you've got like a whole other thing going on that just wasn't there before.
I feel like looking back on that, we really enjoyed Book of Boba. Well, yeah, we really enjoyed Book of Boba Fett. But looking back at all of that stuff, it's difficult because I feel like those 2 episodes didn't really drive the Book of Boba Fett story. They more created something that Disney could build off with through other mediums and through other kind of materials.
Yeah, in the end, because Mando is then he's going to stay with Boba, isn't he? At the end of that series, ended with Mando staying to like help Boba out. But I'm kind of in agreement. It didn't progress that storyline. I would have loved it if that was in Mando season 3, because it focuses on Grogu and Mando. But I feel like they needed to spice up Book of Boba Fett, and I think they realised that.
But my other thing with that is one of my criticisms of Book of Boba Fett was that all of the build up, the resolution happened really quickly within the last like episode and a bit.
Okay, yeah, that one bothered me too. It was like, all right.
And I feel like when they sat down and planned that out, they kind of went, we'll do 2 episodes about Boba at the start. Then we'll throw in 2 random episodes about some other stuff that's going on. And then we'll come back and throw another 2 episodes in. And then they've gone, oh, but if we do that, we've run out of budget, and we need to just like wrap this up in a quick little hour session here. And somebody's gone, okay, well, we'll do it anyway. I would have much rather seen another 2 hours of Boba Fett stuff, and they made it, I don't know, a bigger fight or kind of developed that a little bit more. There was just so much there. And then seeing those 2 episodes,
though, aren't they? Because Boba Fett obviously appeared in Mando season 2, and then Book of Boba Fett was like the start of Book of Boba Fett when he's with the Tusken Raiders, and after being swallowed in the Sarlacc pit is like while Mando season 1's happening. I feel like there's a big plan with Filoni and Favreau. We constantly say this, Matt, don't we? It's like
They're
everything
cooking
has a
something,
point.
boys.
Yeah, and it's like
They're
almost
cooking
like
something.
Kevin Feige with the Marvel, like everything's interlinked. So from the beginning to the
Yep.
end, all these series are going to link into, some big storyline if it
So
were. But
I
it's
guess
just everything's linked.
so here's the question for both of you then, I guess. If that is where we think we're heading, is that what we want? Do we want a lift and shift of essentially the Marvel Cinematic Universe but put into the Star Wars franchise? Do you want it to be a case of somebody new coming in needs to go, right, well, let me go watch all the main saga movies, then let me watch this show, because if I don't watch this show, I won't know who this person is, and then if I don't watch this, then I won't know what's going on with this? Or do you think that as a franchise it would work much better to have the shows and everything, but have them sit... I understand that Rebels sits, within the original trilogy, but there
Well, I
isn't
think what's
tons that
gonna
goes
be
on there that actually impacts or has a relation to what is going on in the original trilogy. So what would you kind of rather see there?
well, I think it's going to be one of those things that I think it's going to be handy to have watched. Like, let's take Ahsoka series. I think it's going to have been really handy to have watched Rebels because you're familiar with the characters of Sabine, with Hera, with Chopper. You won't be asking questions, but at the same time, I feel like they'll do it in a way that you don't have to watch everything. I know there's family of mine and friends of mine who aren't big Star Wars fans, but they wanted to watch Kenobi because they've seen, a couple of the prequel films, and so they understand the story, or they want to see Mando just because it's cool, and it's a good series on its own. Yet we know there's loads of things in the Mandalorian where we're like, there's little Easter eggs thrown out, isn't there? Where we're like, oh my God, we know that, we know them, we know them. So I think they've done it for everybody. Where diehard Star Wars fans, they throw these Easter eggs in to appease us, but then there's people who maybe aren't a massive Star Wars fans but want something new to watch who can like dip in and out of these series. So I am happy with it going like Marvel and everything being interlinked. But the great thing about Star Wars is it's a completely different universe. Marvel will eventually run out of superheroes from these comics because there's only so much material that they've actually got. Whereas Star Wars is you can pick a story on hundreds of planets and you can just create a story about something. So I feel like there's so much they can do, and obviously Marvel has like the phases, don't they? Whereas Star Wars, I don't think would ever really have that. I suppose they've got the Skywalker saga and then the expanded universe. But there's just no. I'm happy. It should if this comes to like a grand plan where Anakin Skywalker comes back or something, then that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I gotta say, I think the whole meshing everything together thing is just fantastic. I have no problems with that. I really liked the the whole side story with Luke and Grogu, and to go with what Ryan just said too. There's an accessibility to people that aren't diehard fans, and then there's the Easter eggs and like the little tidbits that you and I all know, but maybe like some casual fan doesn't know about, and so everybody can still get excited about it. But like Grogu, for example, that little dude went viral immediately simply because he's this little cute green alien baby guy, and that's just a human thing that everybody can relate to. But it was cool to see that. But like the whole storylines coming together, there's like the books, for example. I don't know if either of you guys have read many of the Star Wars books, but that was one of the things I was always into, just because
We've read one or two.
yeah. So my thing with that was always like, we got the movies are great, we love them to death, but there's so much in there that they just don't even have time to talk about, let alone like if they did talk about it, explain it to any kind of depth. So the books for me was like, dude, I want more. Like, what else is there? So I'd read the books, and like we had the Yuzhan Vong War. That one was that like I wish on my life. Oh my god, I
Bring
want a
back the
movie for that.
expanded universe. Bring it back. We want Low back.
I'm gonna just say I never thought that I would be the voice of reason on this show, but like I love those books. I think they're awesome. The new Jedi Order books are
We didn't
absolutely
want Ben Solo.
insane.
We wanted Ben Skywalker.
We wanted that.
Mark Wade.
Yeah. Yup. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Slimm, I haven't even moved on to books because I didn't know that was something you were big into. But that could just open up another can of worms. Because I hate that there's now so much that's non-canon, canon. Because there was some, in all seriousness, there was some real great material written by these authors from the early 90s all the way through to whenever Disney bought Star Wars in like 2014, 2012, and it all just got written off. Yet we'd kind of got to know characters. Well, we'd got to know Luke starting, a new Jedi Order. Yusong Vong, then the Legacy books.
Legacy of the Force, yeah.
Legacy of the Force. Like we've almost we've grown up with these characters, and suddenly they've just been completely no, it's not real anymore. Like it's heartbreaking.
So you say that's not entirely true. So Legends still lives on as a kind of its own thing, right? And they actually still release some Legends books. They're currently going through a thing where they're releasing books, and I understand that this is massively a marketing thing. So don't everybody jump on me because I'm again being the voice of reason. But they're releasing in phases the Essential Legends books, which is essentially the Legends books republished, reprinted, new artwork, that kind of stuff, as like here are the things that, if you're into the Legends books, go and read. But I would say that there is some legacy of the Legends kind of storylines coming in. So
you know what? Thank God for Dave Filoni, because he's probably read all of them and wants to satisfy us.
But like, let's.
I think he has. I
100% think he has. Like we've joked on here before that Dave Filoni is more George Lucas than George Lucas was. Like he understands intrinsically what Star Wars is about, and is also a massive fan, and therefore kind of gets it, respects what is already out there.
That's what I was going to say, is he has that respect for it. That yeah.
So case in point, and this is where I was kind of going with this legacy of the Legends kind of media that's out there. So Rebels, we get introduced to Thrawn, and obviously Thrawn was brought in by Timothy Zahn, by his Heir to the Empire trilogy that came out way back when. So we've got that. We've got Darth Bane appearing in the Clone Wars series when Yoda goes to like the Sith Temple, and there's like the Sith holocron and stuff, and Bane's there. So I understand that they're not the same as they were in Legends, but there is definitely some, let's say, inspiration and there's some legacy that kind of comes through. Now, some people would argue that we get the best of both worlds, because we still get the Legend stuff. It's still there. It's still out there. You can go buy it. But you also have the canon stuff that you can go and deal with.
I think for me, the biggest like Star Wars letdown was that a lot of that stuff was canon before Disney bought it, and it was all like Lucasfilm approved, and it just always in the back of my mind I was like, well, they're not gonna approve this if it's gonna be something like that they don't want to be a part of the universe or whatever. And so when they just like wrote it all off and then just started somewhere else, like I really wanted to see the whole Han Solo family, and like Leia was a Jedi, and all this stuff, and they just were like, not good enough, let's just come up with something else. Or I'm sure that's not how it went, but that's how it felt as a fan.
They kind of listen, they did lean into it a little bit with obviously Ben Solo becoming Kylo Ren. And obviously dark side, and Jason does that in. So I get that they've lent it, but I think Disney took over Star Wars and were like, right, we want to create our own stories, and because everything with Disney, the toys it's all sequel pushing toys naturally. The Lego Star
Mhm.
Wars game focuses so much on the sequels, and Rey. Rey is like, I think Disney see Rey as like the chosen one, where we had Anakin Skywalker, prequel fans.
Yeah.
These sequel fans have got Rey, and listen, I love the stuff that's coming out now because there's loads more canon books coming out. We're reading Brotherhood at the minute, which is one of the newer books. They're now releasing. I think Disney are going to be quite clever with this. That they're going to start releasing more books leading up to the sequels. So fans at the moment are very much they want stuff between prequels and the originals. I think slowly you'll start getting those fans growing up who remember the sequels and want to know more about that. But Disney, I think gradually there'll be more love for the sequels. I'm sure of it. Not from me, but I'm saying from other people.
Well, I said to you my theory on all of this, and I stand behind it, and I really hope that in part that in 15 years time I sit here and can go told you so. But what I think is that the original trilogy came out, and at the time, if you look back, it's all people who are kind of our parents' age that they had it released in the cinema. That was their Star Wars. For lack of a better term, that was their Star Wars. Then the prequels came out, and there was this huge backlash. Now, people like us, we loved it. It was the first Star Wars that was released theatrically within our lifetime. We could go to the cinema. We could get that full experience of the widescreen in the dark with the surround sound, all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sequels came out, and we went, it's not our Star Wars. It's not our Star Wars. And I think what's happened is we're now at the age where, and I'm sure I've said this on the channel before, we're at that sort of age where my dad watched the original trilogy, wasn't huge on the prequels, so he voted with his wallet, and he told Lucasfilm what he wanted with his wallet, because original trilogy stuff would come out, he would buy it. Articles were being written. You got to think about the age of somebody who was a movie reviewer when the prequels came out, right? They're not giving it to an 18-year-old, fresh-faced 18-year-old who's coming in and writing the movie reviews in the local newspapers and in the national newspapers. You're talking about somebody who probably saw Star Wars when it came out, the original trilogy when it came out in the theaters. So it's not their Star Wars, so they react poorly to it. What we're now seeing is people like us have jobs, have families, are at that stage where we're all very active on social media. So when the prequels are getting hate on social media, what's the first thing we do? You go, no. Like,
you don't know what you're talking about. That's what we say.
Exactly.
You guys are mad.
And like prequels merchandise comes out, we can go and buy it. Whereas we don't buy, if you don't like the sequels, you don't necessarily buy sequels merchandise. I buy everything because I'm an absolute sucker, and Disney know exactly what they're doing with me. But
yeah,
do you see where I'm at? And so in 10, 15 years' time, the kids that are 10, 11, 12, maybe younger, kids like Brian's kids who enjoy the sequel trilogy because it's their Star Wars, will be in the same position. They will be able to go out and vote with their wallets and say, this is what we want. And I think that's why we're getting, at the moment, more prequels stuff. So we got the Kenobi series, and why we'll now start getting more sequel stuff, because those people will start now getting to the age, people that potentially saw Force Awakens in the cinema at the age of 12, 13, they'll be starting to enter the workforce now. They'll be starting to earn money and have disposable income that they can go out and buy merchandise and do that sort of thing. And that's what I strongly believe, that in 10-15 years time, the revival that we've seen of the prequels we will see again with the sequels, because there will be different people starting YouTube channels who grew up on the sequels and doing that thing.
It's which one you grew up with. We grew up with the prequels, so because my mum and dad weren't really big Star Wars fans, so I grew up on prequels, so I love prequels more than anything. You know, there will be people who their first introduction to characters will be Rey, Finn, and Poe. So, you know, that'll be their favorite characters. You know, for me, it's Obi-Wan, Anakin, it's Qui-Gon, it's Darth Maul. You know, it's all of that. It's Dooku. So, I think it does depend how you were raised, as well.
I do have one question for both of you. Do you think we will see any kind of Darth Maul action at all in any of the live action series?
I think it's coming. I think it's coming. I truly believe it's coming.
Okay.
Ray Parks has kind of expressed interest in doing it. He's still involved in tons of the kind of Star Wars conventions that go on. You know, like, he's still very much attached to Star Wars. We obviously saw the revival of Maul through Clone Wars, again in Rebels. So,
photo.
What's that? Sorry.
There's that leaked photo of Maul and Ahsoka in a desert.
Yeah, which we don't know whether that's an official leak.
I've not seen said leaked photo.
So it's been around for a little while, and we don't know if it's an official thing, if it's a fan movie that's kind of been circulated. But also, and I know that they've moved away from the Solo piece, but we got that cameo at the very, very end of Solo, and they were obviously trying to build something, weren't they? Because in Clone Wars, and when they brought Clone Wars back, they made this big thing about Maul and his crime syndicate and Crimson Dawn and all of that kind of stuff, and that was what then linked into Solo. So there's a big gap between what we saw with End of Clone Wars and Solo, and then between Solo and when we see him reappear in Rebels as this kind of, I'm gonna say old man, but kind of not in his prime Maul anymore. So there's definitely a story to be told there, I think, and I think we'll see it at some point, because I think, like I said, people like us will continue voting with our wallets and voting with our social media voices and all of that kind of stuff, and there will be a call for it, and Disney will say, we can make more money doing this.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have like a Maul series, but I think he will potentially dip in and out of things. I think the ship has sailed for a Maul series or a Maul film, but I think he'll be.
I don't think we need it.
No, I don't think we particularly need it. Like, I don't think we need a season 2 of Kenobi. I think.
But if he was just like this haunting villain in the background that we know is there, and maybe we see him do some really crazy stuff every once in a while or something, that'd be enough. We saw him get cut in half in the first movie, so just to see him at all in a show would be like, oh, yep, he's doing something nuts.
Well, I think that's the whole point, right? Is at the moment, and I totally get, they can't give us everything we want, and it's just, again, super great market employ, because I'll go watch the Ahsoka series, and the whole way through the Ahsoka series, I'm going to be going, well, we know Maul is around at this time, so is he going to show up? You know, is he going to show up? Isn't he going to show up? And so that's where they can be clever with this sort of thing. We don't need a Maul series. We don't need a Maul movie. We don't need anything that is him and everything that's going on with him and he's the main focus. It's just cool because you know that if they release something that kind of goes on around that same sort of time, early original trilogy time, any mention of Crimson Dawn, you're going, well, Maul could turn up. Kira could turn up. You know, like, all of these different people could turn up. And I think that's where this whole, like, interlinked web does work. I asked the questions earlier, but I'm a massive advocate for that as a kind of strategy for the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah, me too.
So
I think my brother is one of the most diehard Darth Maul fans, and he talks about it constantly. So
He's still one of my favorite characters in the entire franchise. And for no, like, don't get me wrong, he has got an awesome character arc, but he was one of my favorites almost from the word go, from the fact that my exposure to Star Wars obviously was original trilogy with my dad, like I've talked about on the channel, but then was, let's go to the theater, let's watch Phantom Menace. Who is this guy who is quite clearly a villain because they're like, oh, what are the evil colors, red and black? Let's make a character all about that. And then they're like, oh, he's not just having one lightsaber, he's having
He gets
double-ended lightsaber.
and they're
That was the first scene they filmed for the Phantom Menace as well in 1997 in June, was when Maul has his two lines where he's like, "At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge."
That wasn't even Ray Park's voice.
Yeah, with Palpatine with the like hood. "You have been trained well, my young apprentice. There will be no match for you." And that's it. But that's the first scene filmed in the prequels.
ooh, goosebumps thinking about it.
Brian, I know you had some questions. I don't know if you've got more that you want to go through where you're kind of at with.
I had my standard set of questions that I ask everybody, and Slim's given some good answers. I have to say,
Okay. I was gonna ask, do you
I'm a
approve?
fan
Or...
I'm a fan of the answers you gave. They were correct answers.
All right, cool.
So, no, thank you so much. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here. I was kind of hoping that would happen sooner or later. So
No, chuffed that we managed to get diaries all lined up, schedules all lined up, so that we could do it.
right.
I guess, guys, all that is left to say is thank you so much for watching all of this stuff. Thanks, Slimm, again for coming on. If you want to see us do more guest stuff on the channel, let us know down in the comments, and we will try and line up some more people. If you are a massive Star Wars fan and want to be part of the channel on or featured, then let us know. Also down in the comments, reach out and we'll sort something out. Other than that, hit like, hit subscribe, do all of that kind of stuff. We love all the support you're throwing our way at the moment, so continue with that stuff. We massively appreciate it.
And also, come on, Slim, give us a plug. What are all your channels? Tell us.
You guys can see me over on twitch.tv/BigSkinnySlim. I'm also on YouTube. Just search Slim the Big Skinny. Occasionally on Facebook. I'm all over Twitter if you guys want to see funny Twitter beef constantly. That's where you can find that. And at Big Skinny Slim. Same on Instagram. I'm kind of all over the place.
We'll put all of Slim's socials in the little description box down below. We got you. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys all real soon in the next one.
May the force be with you guys.